In the vast tapestry of human history, some stories stand out. They are not just tales of heroes or villains. They are stories of ordinary people caught in extraordinary circumstances. The story of Lot is one such tale. He was a man who lived thousands of years ago, in a time we now call ancient Israel. Lot was the nephew of Abraham, Judaism, Christianity, Islam. He was a man of some wealth, herds of sheep, cattle. He chose to live in the lush green Jordan Valley, near a city called Sodom, a place that would become famous for all the wrong reasons. Lot was a man living between two worlds. He was part of a nomadic family, guided by a deep faith in one God. Yet he chose to settle near cities known for different ways of life. This placed him and his family at a crossroads of culture and belief. In ancient Israelite society, family, tribe, were everything. Your identity tied to your kin. Your safety depended on your community. Lot's choice to live on the edge, so close to the decadence of Sodom, Gomorrah. It set the stage to test the limits of his faith, his morality, his family. The world of Lot and his family shattered overnight. One moment, they were residents of a thriving city. They were residents of a troubled city. The next, they were refugees fleeing a cataclysm, fire brimstone sent from the heavens. They were warned not to look back, a command that tested their attachment to the life they were leaving behind. Lot's wife, whose name we do not even know, failed this test. She turned, perhaps in longing or in regret, and was turned into a pillar of salt, a stark, silent monument to the past. Lot, his two daughters, were all that remained, escaping with nothing but their lives into the lonely mountains. Their new home was a cave, cold, dark, empty. It was a stark contrast to the comforts they had known. No neighbors, no markets, no community. The entire world as they knew it had been wiped out. From their mountain refuge, they could see the smoking ruins of the plains. They believed they were the last people on earth, but for them the silence must have been deafening. The loneliness, a physical weight. In the quiet desperation of their mountain cave, Lot's daughters faced a moral dilemma of epic proportions. Their primary belief, shared by many ancient cultures, was that the human race must continue. It was a sacred duty. But how could they fulfill this duty when, as far as they knew, their father was the only man left on earth? Their solution was born from this perceived reality. It was a plan that would cross a line universally considered taboo. They decided they would have children by their own father to preserve humanity. This was not a choice made from desire, but from a twisted sense of responsibility. The moral framework of ancient Israel was very clear on this issue. The laws, later written down in the book of Leviticus, strictly forbade incestuous relationships. Such acts were seen as an abomination, a corruption of the family structure that was the bedrock of their society. So, the daughters' plan was a direct violation of a core moral principle. Yet their situation was unique. The laws were made for a functioning society, a world of communities, tribes. Did those laws still apply when society itself was gone? This is the heart of their impossible choice. Follow the letter of a law made for a dead world, or break it to create a new one. They did not approach their father directly. They knew he would refuse. Their plan was one of deception. The elder daughter proposed to the younger, "Our father is old, and there is no man on earth to come into us after the manner of all the earth. Come, let us make our father drink wine, and we will lie with him, that we may preserve seed of our father." They intoxicated Lot, removing his ability to consent or even be aware of their actions. This adds another layer to the moral complexity. Their choice was not just about incest, it was also about deception violation, even if their motive was, in their minds, the preservation of life itself. This story forces us to ask uncomfortable questions about morality. Is an act inherently wrong, regardless of the circumstances? Or does the context, in this case, the perceived end of the world, change the moral equation? If your only choices are morally wrong or allowing the human race to end, what do you choose? There are no easy answers. Both daughters became pregnant. The older daughter gave birth to a son she named Moab. The younger also had a son whom she named Ben-Ammi. These were not just children. They were symbols of a new beginning. They were the first generation born after the world's fiery end. The sons born in that cave, Moab and Ben-Ammi, were not just the end of one story. They were the beginning of another. Moab, Ben-Ami. According to the biblical narrative, they became the fathers of two new nations, the Moabites and the Ammonites. The Moabites, the Ammonites. These tribes settled in the lands east of the Jordan River, neighboring the future nation of Israel. The story of their origin, born from incest and deception, was never forgotten. It was used by the ancient Israelites to explain the character and nature of their rivals. This origin story cast a permanent shadow over the Moabites and Ammonites in the eyes of their neighbors. This legacy had real-world consequences in the biblical account. The Moabites and Ammonites became frequent adversaries of the Israelites. Their relationship was often marked by conflict, suspicion, and war. The story of their ancestry was a constant source of tension, a way for the Israelites to define themselves as different and morally superior. The law in Deuteronomy explicitly stated that no Ammonite or Moabite could enter the assembly of the Lord, a ban that extended for 10 generations. The choices made by two desperate women in a cave echoed for centuries, shaping politics, religion, and national identity. However, the story is not entirely one of condemnation. In a surprising twist, one of the most celebrated women in the Hebrew Bible, Ruth, was a Moabite. Ruth, a woman from the very nation born of this troubled origin. Ruth's story is one of loyalty, kindness, and faith. She ultimately becomes the great-grandmother of King David, placing her directly in the ancestral line of the Messiah. This adds a beautiful layer of complexity. Origins need not define destiny. Redemption and goodness can arise from even the most broken beginnings.